Okay, Bob, can you hear us a little better?
Yes, that's better now. Yes.
We just have that furnace on in the back of the
So we can shut that door.
unit, so yeah, it still comes through the cold air, but
You won't hear much noise.
so we'll call this meeting to order, whatever time it is. 9:34. And I think the main thing about this meeting today, there's no other business to be done except what's on the agenda. This is a government session, so all we're doing is setting up the chief elected official and the committees. And we've also got to talk about council remuneration. And things like that. And then, of course, the agenda shows you exactly what in order we're doing it. So the first thing that we have to do is the coronation of Bob, and that would be handled by administration. So on page.
Actually, Bob just has to read his oath of affirmation. He's already signed it. So as soon as he's read his oath of affirmation, all you have to do is sign it and make it official. So.
Okay, so yeah, so I signed it electronically. So was that acceptable?
Yeah, it's acceptable as long as Lauren is the commissioner of oath accepts it. So then you just have to read it aloud. Like it as exactly as it says.
Okay, now can you show me that on the screen? Because I just
Down just one page. Yeah, there. Down a few more pages.
I haven't really got access to a printer here right now and stuff, so it's just I'm kind of working sort of.
One more. 8. Oh God.
It's in the package.
On the second page.
Second page, right behind the agenda.
Oh, perfect.
Not there.
Is it on? Oh, it's up there. There. Hold on. Hold
I have a
on.
copy. Can you just say it? Then I could just repeat it.
Yeah, I can read it to you.
Just read it a couple lines at a time, and I'll just repeat it then.
Okay, I'll just read it. It says, I say your name.
I, Bob Robert Huff,
Having been elected to the office of councilor in the Summer Village of White Sands,
having been elected to the council of the Summer Village of White Sands,
do solemnly promise and declare that
do solemnly promise and declare that
I will truly, faithfully, and impartially, to the best of my knowledge and ability, perform the duties of this office.
I will truly, faithfully perform the duties to my best of my ability.
Perform the duties of this office.
Perform the duties of this office.
I am qualified to hold the office to which I have been elected.
I am qualified to hold this office to which I have been elected.
I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise of payment.
I have not received or will not receive any promise of reward for payment
Or reward
for
the exercise of any corrupt practice
for the exercise of any corrupt practice
or undue execution of or influence of this office,
for undue execution or influence
of this office.
in this office.
I have read and understand and agree to abide by the code of ethics,
I have read and agree to abide, but I've read and understand and agree to abide by the code of ethics,
rules of conduct,
rules of conduct,
procedures applicable to my position as a member of council,
procedures applicable to my position on council,
required of me by the Alberta Municipal Government Act,
required of me by the Alberta Municipal Government Act,
and any other act by the council.
and any other act of council.
I will perform the duties of office imposed by the Municipal Government Act,
I will perform the duties imposed by the Municipal Government Act
and any other act
and any other act
or law,
or law,
bylaw,
bylaw,
and procedures or other act by council.
procedures or other act by council.
I will. It says supposed to be, I will not disclose, or I will disclose any conflict of interest
I will disclose any conflict of interest
with the meaning of Division 6 of the Alberta Municipal Government Act.
with Division 6 of the Municipal Government Act.
I will comply with the code of ethics, rules of
I will comply with the code of ethics,
rules of conduct and procedures
rules of conduct and procedures
applicable to the office I now hold,
applicable to the office which I now hold,
that are imposed by the Municipal Government Act
that are imposed by the Municipal Government Act
and any other act
and any other act
and by the council.
and by the council.
Okay, and you just. You've got your hand up, I trust, I can speak over there. And then we're just decided as Commissioner vote, and you become official. And welcome to council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sir Robert. Okay, so that's first order of business. Now, approval of the agenda.
I had a couple additions on the agenda, but just, I don't know how important they are as far as in the,
As far as the appointments or the,
yeah, the appointment
okay,
and some. So we have a member of Denelda that is representing us on the library. Does that have to be on there?
it hasn't been in the past ones. I took this off the last one.
Okay, so we just did that this year.
Yeah, so you can add that as appointment to the regional library board. So it'll be 17.1 and whatever. It'll be 18 actually, let's change the number. So an appointment of whoever to the regional library board.
Yeah,
Part-time regional library board.
yeah,
The CEO of Donalda, Christie,
I'm not
I
sure.
think that's her, the CEO of Donalda, Christie.
Okay.
And then, well, no, we'll do that last week when we get down to it, but the names of the people. And who else? The only, I don't, I see the assessor, that's the most important. Assessor and auditor are the ones required by the Municipal Government Act, and then all the other safety codes inspection and all those as we go down.
Yeah, the only other one I was looking at, and it's not there yet, is a representative who, may be at large from the Hall Society on Rec Road.
Okay, so that'll be down in like 1813 if you want.
That regional?
No, because it's, are you paying people to be on that board? To attend meetings or?
Well, I assume if they go to the meeting, we pay them there.
Because it's not a formal committee, like in the regional municipal thing, but if you guys want to add it to your agendas, you can do that, no problem. So we'll just put 1813. And it would be the regional library. Parkland Regional Library, and 1814 will be the road, will be your Hall Society.
Yeah, well, we're not there yet,
No, you want to add that, right? On your committee appointments.
yeah, we have no one to fill it yet, though. So I don't know, if that's okay.
So you just list it as an item, you could put to be determined or
Yeah, okay,
TBD,
At the next meeting.
what it sounds called.
yeah, maybe.
Right. 1813 is appointment to the,
Oh, okay.
because that's not a formal appointment required under. And then we got to add it to the committee pages, but. Regional. Okay. Was there anything else for appointments that you guys have? You do have someone on the. Okay, you got Buffalo Lake Management Team. We've got the regional emergency management. What else?
I noticed that we had a lawyer listed, but I don't see that we were voting. Do we need to vote on the lawyer? We have, I didn't see that listed on the thing, but there's a list that of Gordon and Craig for the lawyers.
Formally, do we have them? Because we don't have to appoint them.
Okay, that's fine. I wasn't sure. That's fine.
Yeah, they're kind of on a retainer, just like our engineering services. We can use both
Perfect.
services, but legally under the MGA, we have to appoint the assessor, the inspector, and the auditor. Those are the three, and then everything else is the regional entities. But as far as appointing the lawyer and engineer, we don't have to do that because we can select. They have specialties. So.
Yeah, the one.
Very good. Okay.
The lawyer that we use in Red Deer for not real big thing is Chapman Reba.
Yeah,
I've had.
and that was for the mainly for the when you guys appealed.
Paradise Doors.
Yeah, that's what it was. The city also handles subdivisions.
They handled stuff like, bylaw infraction
Okay,
and stuff like that. Nothing big.
no, so I mean, they're just the service. We don't have to appoint them specifically under the act, there's no requirement for that.
Okay, so approval of the agenda
Is amended?
as amended,
Okay, so
just need a motion, please.
Yeah.
Ed, all in favor?
I agree.
Thank you. Actually, you're supposed to be running this meeting, aren't you?
Yep, and at this point,
Sorry about that.
you're the deputy, but you guys have to vote as to who is going to be the chief elected official or the mayor, to be the chairman.
Basically, we're just doing nominations then right now.
Yes, for
Okay, I'm
yourself.
gonna nominate one.
Okay,
I would second that nomination.
okay, so with that, no need to vote, because 2, 3,
You've
so
got to accept it though, don't
you
you?
have to accept the nomination. So Lauren accepts the nomination.
course you do.
So motion by councilor Wadsworth, councilor Thurston. As chief official for the summer village White Sound.
Chief elected
Oh,
officer.
chief of the
Of the conflict official. And or brackets mayor. And then so with that, you accept the appointment for sure, like that's, okay. So now we need nominations for the deputy.
Um. I would,
I'm gonna defer to you guys on whatever you think is right, because I'm the newbie here, so I'm gonna be deferring to you guys on what is the right thing, so there'll be no worry about hurting feelings or anything like that, so.
I think,
But I will do whatever is asked of me.
you know, it may be a more important appointment this time because of, my health issues. So it's hard to say.
Yeah,
Well,
so
what's your feeling on it, Ed?
As far as the appointment of deputy mayor,
Yeah, is it something that you would like to do?
I think so. The only reason is because I live here. I'm going to be available in most cases. I don't know, but whatever.
I agree with that, and also the fact that it's gonna still take me a few months to get up to speed here, I think, on things, and you know, you're up to speed, so I would be willing to make the motion that Edouard hold the position of deputy mayor of White Sands.
okay, so we have one nomination for Ed. Do we need to vote? We'll just vote now. So we're good with that?
I'm in favor.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
Okay.
And I'll accept.
Good.
So we do motion by councilor Huff.
No motion.
No,
No, it's nomination.
no,
Councilor Huff nominates Edouard as deputy mayor. And Councilor Thurston agrees and accepts the nomination, but not really need to vote. This thing. If they both accept. So then it is the.
Okay, now, thank you. We have, appointment of signing officers. So it would be, the CAO and,
There's three, so the CAO,
Mm.
yourself, the CAO. And that's it right now for the signatures for
so we should have,
Do we need?
the, we just need to name the people.
yeah, so there's,
So there's three councilors and me,
yeah. So yourself and one counselor to sign.
yeah. And it's set up for, there has to be two signatures on everything. So
Yeah.
So we will always need, we'll always need two signatures, is that correct?
yeah, there's two signatures on all checks and all major transactions and setting up all accounts.
So it would be
Very good.
Dean and then one counselor,
For two councilors,
yeah.
if I'm not available that day. So usually
Yeah,
I've pre-approved the payments, and if I'm not there for whatever reason, then Aaron can get two councilors to sign in my absence. Because I've already pre-approved the documents, so the check can be signed by any one of you guys, or any two of you guys.
But that includes all three counselors. Could be,
That's
it could
all
be
three of me.
any two of the three counselors and you. That can sign.
or just two councilors.
We
just
need
do
two signatures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's, we'll just list the people who are signing. Well, the thing that I'm running into right now, we also have to assign the designated officer. And the designated officers have to be listed in the financial statements. And they haven't been in the past, but the designated officers under the Municipal Government Act are, the assessor, which we will appoint already. Well, the other designated officer would be, Leanne. Right, because she's been designated authority under the power of the CAO by council to do that work. And so as we have to appoint her as a designated officer. And Perry Willoughby has to be appointed as. So we can put that in appointment of officers. They're not signing officers, but we can have, 6.1 could be appointment of designated officers, so designated officers. Well, it have to be, they're designated officers. Yeah, because the designated officers under the Municipal Government Act means the council has given them the authority to act in those two particular positions. And so the one designated officer has to be the assessor. So the company is Municipal Consulting Services. Limited, 2009 Limited.
So
That's Terry Willoughby.
Terry's specific for that.
Yeah, so he has full council authority to carry out those duties, and then we have to put his pay in your financial statement, even though it's consulting services, we have to list it. And that's what I've been dealing with municipal affairs on both sides, both communities. And then the other designated officer is Graycore, which is Leanne, her company. And she also her fees also have to be listed in your financial statements. So.
Okay,
So they're officers, but not signing officers, is that correct?
We're not signing off, so this is under, like, it'd be, well, we have to call it 7, whatever, if we're gonna change the format. But they are designated officers by council. So in the Municipal Government Act, anybody that's assigned authority that is normally assigned to the CAO. Under the CAO have to be listed as designated officers.
Okay, so this would be for things like, I'm assuming for this Terry, for making the assessing properties for tax purposes and things like that?
yeah, and for if there was appeals and stuff that
He looks after it
he
all.
looks after all that. And
Okay,
then-
that's fine.
And then Leanne would be, of course, the development officer and,
And there, as far as I know, you don't have any other delegation of duties that council has assigned to anybody else.
no, except for Alberta Animal Services, but I don't know where that fits.
Yeah, that's, he's not a designated officer, but he will have his own bylaw, and then we've named him in our reports to municipal affairs, but he's not considered a executive designated officer with authority of.
So Robert, we use Alberta Animal Services out of Red Deer for bylaw enforcement and like they do obviously animals like dog instances and stuff like that, but they also look after bylaw enforcement. If we have to take someone to court over an item, then they do all the representation on behalf of the village and they write it all up and they're very proficient in that. They've done tons of it.
And we pay them on an ad hoc basis for that?
Yeah, so if there's a dog incident out here where someone gets bit or whatever else, they'll do it. But one cautionary thing about that is like it's roughly around 800 or $1,000 sometimes for them to do one thing. And it may only be not enforceable too, so it's kind of a animal enforcement is a little a gray area until they get into the fact, where the bylaw incident against the property is more in our land use bylaw, and it's much stronger. But we haven't.
We're better to try to appeal to people's good behavior as opposed to calling up the bylaw guys, because it's going to cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that's what we've done in the past, actually. Just
Okay,
Okay, so
that sounds fair.
in this case, we got Terry Willoughby and Leanne Graham as designated officers. So the establishment of council meeting dates and times. There was some question because administration.
Excuse me, do we need to make a motion about Leanna and Terry?
No, that all
No.
gets done at the same time. You do,
Okay,
you don't have to make a motion on each item.
okay, fine, thank you.
So, there has been, because Dean and Aaron have to prepare for a meeting on Tuesday and for Roshan Sand, and then on the following day, then we have our meeting as well, so it's a bit of a scramble. So there was some thought of moving our meeting to another Wednesday of the month, so it's farther apart from Roshan Sand.
So we could either do it if you guys want, because if we do it the first Wednesday of the month, it doesn't give enough time for them to get the financial statements
Right.
together. But if we do it the third Wednesday of the month, then
that doesn't conflict with any other thing.
I don't know.
Well,
Shouldn't.
that's the question I was gonna ask, is if, I don't think there's any other committee meetings that are on a Wednesday. I mean, it's very rare. And that it would be in the morning, like sometimes the Shirley McClellan meets on a Wednesday, rarely, but it's always evening.
Okay. Yeah, if it's gonna be more favorable for you guys to
Well, it just means we don't have to do two agendas at the same time,
Yeah.
on the same,
give you more time. To,
because it's usually a rush the last 2 days before the Friday, to try to get everything together.
because it doesn't matter to me. I'm here.
That's fine. So the third Wednesday of the month, is that what we're talking?
Yeah,
That's fine with me.
starting in December.
Yeah.
This one in November is already set for November.
And then we have to publish.
Yeah, otherwise we're gonna have to send out notices and things like that to people, which is a hassle, right?
Yeah, but it makes sense for administration.
So the third Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay,
Here, oh, just double check.
At the hall here, now we have the Zoom.
We could let councilor Huff already know that we're changing it, started with Tuesday then.
Well, in December.
Yeah, or yeah, that's what I.
And then, so in January, what we have to do on our website, we have to publish a list of all the council meetings for the entire year. And then post that on our website, so everybody has access to that with all the new meetings.
Right. So, Robert, are you okay with that?
third Wednesday is fine with me.
Okay. So, council remuneration. Generally, it has been, it was around $1,200 a year, but then the federal government changed the tax law, so it was more tax than what it was in the past, so we raised it to $1,750, and that was to cover the extra tax that you have to pay on. And then for you, Robert, if you, so the $1,750 covers all the council meetings. So you don't put in a request for payment for council meetings, the $1,750 is that part.
Sure.
But committee meetings or other meetings that are like even special meetings, because of the fact that it's not a regular council meeting, then you would of course get the mileage from Calgary. And also when you come to a meeting for a council meeting and you're here physically, then you charge for mileage too. And that comes from the Canada Revenue Agency, whatever it is at the time. I think it's 61 cents a
Yeah.
click.
It's 1 cent a kilometer, yeah.
Yeah, so that is submitted. And then if it's a meeting, like, let's say, I suppose even today's meeting would be $75. But we're not charging you to fly home from England.
No, that's fine. Yeah, you know what, whatever is right. I'm not worried about the money or whatever. I mean, even, yeah, it's not a big deal to me.
Well, that's all fine and dandy, but I've always maintained anybody that is on council should put in their expenses that's how the village is ran. And if there was, let's say, 2 councilors that didn't bother putting in expenses, and then
That's true.
for the next year, there was 2 new councilors, and then everything goes in there, it would mix up things. Besides, you shouldn't be out of nickel. I mean, it's not a small job sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So okay, I'll just, whenever there's a meeting, if I have to drive up or whatever, I'll just let you know, and I'll talk to Dean and get it and just sort out putting in the forms and stuff, necessary forms.
Yeah, and we have them all there. So the $75 is for a meeting like today's, but if there was a meeting that is all day, we made a change that it's $100 because it's very odd, but we did this in the I don't know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So sometimes you get a meeting where you're sitting there all morning, you maybe go for lunch and then you're there all afternoon. So that's what the point of that was. And that's not very often that happens. Just in case.
Okay. No, that's fine. Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
Can I say something? Sure. I would like to see the remuneration jumped to $3,000 a year for the councilors and $4,000 a year for the mayor. And leave the kilometers and the meeting numbers alone, set as they are. Can I ask you a question? Are we in line with Ocean Sounds as far as money goes? You don't have to tell me what it is, just, are we even close?
Oh, they're higher. Russian stands gets very little, and that's what they decided. So the audio area, then, are we changing that?
Well, I'd like to see it raised to
A year.
1750.
Yeah.
And I mean, for the amount of meetings that we're attending here, and this is getting to be a lot more hectic than it ever has been, as far as I'm concerned. I think that should be jumped. Not that I need money or anything like that, but what I think this would do is push to get newer and more exciting and better nominations for the next election. If somebody decides that they, you know, if the money is a factor, then we might bring in better people. And I think that's one reason that I think that we should jump this up to, but
Is there a way that we can have this independently done as opposed to, I mean, I guess, do we always have to vote for something like that? Or is there some kind of an independent body that can make the recommendation for us?
I think, Robert, what maybe was done in the past was comparison to other summer villages.
Yeah.
And also, I know that like this meeting is late because of the by-election. It should have been just right after, if there was an election in the summer, and this meeting is supposed to be in August. So that's when sometimes this remuneration was always figured about on the last council, and then it was brought forward to the new council. So I don't know, I'm
It's based on, your current is based on $150 per meeting. And that's assuming you have 12 meetings a year. So if you bumped it to 3, and it would be based on $250 a meeting.
That's at 12 meetings a year.
At
We're
12
having a lot more.
on average, which is not,
Yeah, this is.
Hi. it's not high by standards for the meetings, but your meetings are usually 3 hours, so. You know, so then all these other meetings you have to send separate invoices for. So like any special meetings you have or any other meetings you attend. On behalf of the municipality, you have to submit your invoice, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I like the difference between 3 and 4, only because like our mayor, Lauren does well. He does probably more than anybody.
Yeah, I agree that the mayor should get more. I wonder whether or not we should do some kind of, a little bit of research on what other places are getting.
Well, they have done that in the past. I've seen the documentation because Jason previously did it with Ocean Sands, and Ocean Sands didn't want to increase their remuneration, but it was in the range of $200 to $250 per month per meeting. They only have 12 meetings here, and some councils only have meetings. They're only required to have 6 meetings a year, not 12 legally. So they just have them starting in April and they go through till October. A lot of councils don't have any meetings at all in winter months. But I mean, it's a reasonable amount. It's not excessive at $200 a meeting or $250 a meeting. So if I did a poll of the other summer villages, it would be in line.
As if it's just the honorarium or remuneration, you're on par with Ocean Sands now. But they don't do the mileage or the money per meeting, like.
But that's not saying Ocean Sands might change your mind anytime soon.
Yeah.
So we're not speaking out of turn here, requesting this 3 and 4, right? I mean, that's, that's just a thought. I mean, that's, you guys think about it, or what do you think? Huh? Are we asking too much, is what I'm asking.
Well, I'm just not used to that kind of a jump.
Yeah.
And it's not as though the village really can't afford it, but I think I'm kind of inclined to. I don't know what to say about it.
What do you think, Bob?
Well, I don't have a problem. I guess my problem is, from a selfish point of view, is that if we do it on my first meeting, does it look like that's an agenda that I brought in?
Welcome to council.
Yeah, I know. I don't mind. I got I've got thick, big shoulders and stuff, but I don't want to look like I've walked in and all of a sudden wanted a big raise. But I do feel like the mayor should get more than the other council members.
Well, I feel the same way as you do. Because I don't know, I think equality among the membership, that doesn't bother me at all. It's just that I want any expenses or time spent should be looked after. And I know it's not a big amount of money or anything, but it's certainly the price for me. Or we could, do we have to do this at an organizational meeting?
Well, you can accept what you have now and do a study if you want, but you have to have something in place. So just, do a study and come back with recommendation. But to me, it's not a big increase from one to the other. But it is still an increase and you have to justify it. Right?
That was the justification that it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And they're monthly and doing stuff.
I guess I do, I mean, you guys know more than me, but it's probably a heck of a lot bigger job than it was 10 years ago, I suspect, right?
Yeah, it increases all the time, like when I first started.
It's almost something that we should do on an incremental basis. It should almost be annually raised a small amount of money, like come up with an amount that's fair and then look at it on an incremental basis rather than not raise it for 5 years and then all of a sudden raise it like 25 or 50% or something like that. So I guess my recommendation on this is that if we could table this and get maybe some kind of a study so that we have I would always want to have backup before I would make a number, to choose a number that's fair, like an average of other summer villages of similar size, and then annually raise it 5% or 10% or whatever is fair at the time based on inflation and things like that.
There is, it's not really that difficult. I mean, we have 50 summer villages in the province of Alberta, and we could just go to their the organizational meetings, and that's in there, isn't it?
It should be there. I don't know if they've done a survey in the last little while, but usually they have a survey that's available online where you can see the wages of councilors online, but I haven't looked for it. I know Jason did a review. I read for Ocean Sounds, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. And they haven't changed it since. So
Well, we won't let it into.
if you,
So maybe that's what we can do. I don't know, are you okay with that, Ed?
Yeah, I just brought this up as more of a suggestion and see what you guys thought. I mean, I'm
so,
good on, I'm easy with anything.
so if you wanna keep it as is, then you don't table it, you basically just say motion to keep remuneration as is, column up pending the study of other
Sure.
communities.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we don't want to put a whole bunch of work on you guys either.
No.
Like I can certainly do some of it if I find the right place to go. But I don't want to be sitting.
There you go. Doing more work.
Do it while we enjoy.
Okay,
So we're gonna table that?
No, it's not table, you can't table it.
Oh,
It's basically,
we'll just leave it.
keep the remuneration the same,
keep it the same.
pending a review
Okay.
of other summer villages.
Okay, appointment of, are you okay with that, Robert?
Yeah, I am. I think that's the way to do it because, if it comes out that we're terribly low and we vote to raise it, and I could throw a piece of paper in front of a ratepayer and say, look, we're way underpaid, then I think that's fair. But to just pull a number out of the air, I'm a little concerned about doing that,
Yeah, and I guess the variant on that would be, out of the 50 summer villages in Alberta, the population and the amount of lots varies from, like, there's some, like Ghost Lake, for example, the population there is nil and not anywhere to expand and make new lots. And then there's some summer villages that have 3, 4, 5, 600 lots, so it always, that's a big variance as well. So we'd have to maybe look into something that's comparable to our 400 or a maximum 500 lots or whatever, and see what theirs is. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree. Like to not make a ton of work, I don't think we need to survey every one of them, but if you could pick half a dozen that are similar size or something like that, I think that would be a a representative survey.
Yeah. And you could also go to, you don't have to stick with summer villages, you can go to villages too.
Yeah,
I've got a
yeah,
list of all the villages by size, by population, and by like the number of houses and by population permanent, so I can easily compare the communities.
Yeah, if you don't mind doing that, like, it's not a rush.
yeah. I don't want to put a ton of work on Aaron or Dean, but even, you know, half a dozen, hopefully, you know, just so that we have a little bit of backup on what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Property assessor, so that,
Okay, so we need to appoint them again, so.
what's the actual name?
Called 2009 LTD.
So do we, just going back to do we need to make a motion and vote on the remuneration?
We will make motions on all of them, we just gotta
We
get.
will, okay.
Yeah, we'll get through it and then we'll make motions on all of them.
Okay, sorry, no, that's, thank you.
Yeah,
So, we've had the same assessor, a different owner of the company, but we've had the same assessor for years. And
yeah.
they also do, Russian sand and
We
county.
do 43 other municipalities, apparently in Central Alberta.
So the balance there is especially with them doing the county and Russian sands, then we get a balance of the property values specific to Buffalo Lake, which is really a handy thing for them to, because they balance it off of the real estate values, which go up and down. But legally, they're supposed to be within 10%, but they're never within 10% of the market value. The assessed value is always much lower. But anyway.
Have we been happy with the work they've done?
Yeah, I don't think we've had any problems. We haven't had any appeals. Robertson, oh my God.
Yeah.
Probably 10, 15 years maybe.
Yeah. There was some complaints and he was able to take a look at the properties again and people let him in to see and he did make some adjustments. So I think this year, there was 3 properties that appealed their assessment that had gone up significantly. And he met with them and he made adjustments to their assessment based on his review of other properties around the area.
And that's really important that he can do that too, because the fact now that we have for the appeal process, we have a board that's out of, is that one out of Red Deer? Or,
Yeah, well, the Capital Region Board, but they meet in Red Deer.
yeah, and
So then we have to pay the fees for that board. And
it's,
the reason why we went with that is because the county wanted us to pay in to a county assessment appeal board, and it was gonna cost significant funds to train and keep current the people on the board. So they just decided to go with a regional entity.
yeah, and it's still much more expensive than if we just did it ourselves, but we haven't been there yet. So that board in Red Deer is made up of people from municipalities, not necessarily councilors, but maybe ex-councilors.
Sometimes.
And then they go with the appeal, but it's expensive.
It's expensive to train people to keep them active.
Yeah.
That's the big cost, right?
Yeah,
And I think we paid 2,000 for each community last year for the appeal board. That's what's in the contract. It was $2,000 a year, so that's just as a retainer, basically. And if we don't appeal anything, if we appeal anything, then there's more about that, but depending on the appeal.
yeah.
It sounds like does a good job and he's professional. So I wouldn't want to change.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, financial auditor, so we've been using,
It's one company.
probably since 1980, when we were formed as a village. And the accounting firm in town has been in business for years and years and years, and they do most of the, like they do the Shirley McClellan, they do the EMS or the ambulance, and they do they practically do all the committees to do the town of Stettler
Yeah, they did.
and the county, so they're really, really confident and they have that. That's who we use. So it's,
Okay, no, that's good. If they're doing a good job, if it ain't broke, let's not fix it, right?
yeah. It's appointment of safety codes inspection services.
So it's IJD,
Yeah.
inspections that are right there. In the past, you guys have used whoever the town of Statler used, and I think they use Permit Pro.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, we
Yeah, so IJD, the county doesn't use it, or did they start using
I'm not sure what the county uses.
it?
Roston uses them as
Yeah.
well, and then quite a few other communities use them.
Yeah,
I don't have any issue with IPD.
No, I mean,
They've been real good.
they have to keep up with safety code in all areas, and they are required to have specific people in each field that are trained and certified, so they do provide a good service.
yeah,
And the municipality does get a revenue back from the agreement. It's not huge revenue, but it's still, we get so much per permit back. So,
yeah, no problems with them, maybe, not like.
Yeah, I'll take your guys' advice on this because I have no idea. So,
Once we get more into this, Robert, then I think probably some stuff will come up like percentages of development permits and all the rest of that. It'll take just probably after the 3 years, there'll still be lots of questions, but a lot of it will come up just through regular meetings. You know,
okay,
or then you can also, if you have a question, get a hold of administration or myself or Ed, and if we can't explain it, then we'll find someone who can.
okay, very good.
Okay, banking institution, so we've used the TD Bank for a long time, but they're really a pain in the ass. The worst, they're sticklers, but they're also just means they're efficient, because I think at one time they got a national audit, and that's why they're like they are.
yes, they're worse than any bank that I've ever had to deal with.
Yeah,
Really?
As far as
they are.
Royal Bank is not nearly as difficult to deal with, and
What's it take to change? A loss?
Yeah,
Well, I have to do a tender.
yeah, so to tender it out and put a package together and send it out to all the bidders.
I mean, they're not bad, but I'll tell you, the rules and the regulations. And when we changed, when we went and left town of Stettler and had our own administration, no one except myself was able to deal on this transfer of ownership of accounts, and it took months to do it, to get it right.
Yeah.
And there was 3 girls working on it. So it's there, it's set up, but even for,
Or,
Well, now that we've changed mayor, we have to go through that whole process again.
our,
We just got it as how they have to redo all the signing authorities and redo all the.
we have to get off of it still, deciding authority.
and we can't, it's not, you can't just go into the branch in town and do it. That doesn't work that
It
way.
goes to their
Person right
head
there.
office and then, or Red Deer office, and then goes to head office for approval.
Yeah,
Really? You have to go to Red Deer to change things? That's
everything
crazy.
over the,
Yeah.
you can scan it and send it. But honestly, it's really a tough bank. And then the town of Stetter pulled out of the TD and now they're in a credit union in town.
Okay.
So we'll float along with them, I suppose, until,
So we can appoint them for now, but we can start the tender process. The benefit that they have is that they do electronic banking and they have. They allow, people to pay through their own bank. The TD's registered with a lot of other banks, so they
Right.
can pay their taxes via the banking system.
Yeah.
But we still have to set up as well.
That's painful, that's the state.
But, yeah, we haven't been doing that much, but yeah, it still has to be all set up at the same time. I mean, it would be nice to have one bank for both communities, but you want the best deal at the same time. So,
yeah, so we retained the same charges and stuff as what the town of Stetter was getting when they were in with the TD Bank. They kept pretty well all the charges the same, which were lower than maybe if we were to move to, so I don't know. But if you guys get really sick of the TV,
they don't have an investment program set up for you guys, right? Like on TD side, on the Ocean Sand side, they buy GICs and they get reminders and stuff. So they're making money on any money they have in the bank. TD with you guys, I don't think they're investing in anything. There hasn't been anything set up for any of your cash flow or anything.
yeah, well, that's probably why they like us to.
Cause they get to use your money and don't have to pay you anything for using it. So,
Well, maybe that's something we should think about looking into, for sure.
And then any investments that a municipality has is governed by the provincial government. There's certain parameters of your
yeah,
investment
you have to have a bylaw.
for risk too. Like they won't let you go and just do it like it's a personal thing.
You have to use government certified back GICs or government, you can invest like. Back hydro if you want, or BC Hydro, or you can invest in like the municipality of Brampton or whatever, when they buy infrastructure money. So the Alberta government goes and gets our money for the municipality, for each municipality in eastern Canada. I think BC has to go and get their own money from the market. So if they're building roads or whatever, so it's fairly limited in AAA rated and stuff like that. That's what happened in a lot of the things in Europe. They were investing in the American mortgage funds. And they were classed as AAA, but they weren't. So we don't generally invest outside of Canada. And we don't invest in anything that's not government backed. So,
Okay, TD for now.
maybe,
Regional Subdivision Development Appeal Board. So that board is out of our hands too. So the companies out of Sherwood, is it?
right there, PCPS, who you guys go to.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's overseen by PCPS, so they look after all of the things that go to appeal. And then PCPS looks after, but it's the regional SDAB board, subdivision appeal board, which is probably out of Sherwood Park. So,
Yeah. So Parkland Community Planning would, well, I'm just trying to think, because we haven't had one of them for, oh,
they still do the main appeals on subdivisions for the region, so they'll do it for the county. They'll do it for the town, Ocean Sound.
Parkland Community Planning for the subdivision.
Yeah.
But for the development appeal,
That's you guys.
with
So
our,
Leanne says no, when they want to appeal, they have to come to you guys for approval, not your municipal development appeal board.
okay, so
So
that,
that's different than the subdivision.
okay, so that's brand new.
Yeah. That was a part of the land use bylaw.
Okay, so that, okay.
So the council is the de facto appeal board, and then if they don't like that, then they can take it up to the next level.
It goes to Sherwood Park or.
They can, yeah, they can appeal to whatever level is next.
So Robert, when did we set that up? Just a few months ago? Yeah. Municipal Planning Commission.
June-ish? When you
Yeah.
make the bylaw.
So for development appeal, it was in the village, not subdivision appeal, but for, development appeal. Mind you, splitting them lots, like Cornell and everything else went through the Municipal Planning Commission.
You got it? Are you reading it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
so is there a certain size, Dean, that certain size of, a development?
No. Not according to your current. This bylaw as part of the appeal process goes? Or,
No, as far as the subdivision development. So let's say Cornelson's wanted to put in then 3 or 4 lots. And then that was refused by the Municipal Planning Commission.
well, that was refused by council before we even got to the municipal planning commission. Because there was no point in taking it if it didn't,
Match up.
because you'd have to overwrite. Because the bylaw says you're only allowed so many lots above 0.45 of an acre, and this would have created 2 new lots, and we would have added an extra large lot, so that's why
Yeah,
we said no, so they have to redo it and resubmit it as Leanne, and then Leanne can bring it forward, and then as the SBAB, not the SBAB, as the Municipal Planning Commission, you guys can approve that. Or council can approve that, or Leanne can approve it. But,
yeah, so that whole Municipal Planning Commission is the council of all councils on it. So if there's a development that is off, let's say, some setbacks that are within a reasonable distance and are a real good reason for doing it, then the Municipal Planning Commission can approve that. Instead, we used to have a development appeal board, which was more difficult and expensive.
yeah, that's what they currently do.
Okay. I know
There's
that's,
no changes to that.
I think, Robert, that's kind of confusing until we get into it too.
You know.
Yeah, this is something I'll take your advice on this. This again is another thing I'm gonna have to get, sit down and just sort of get really, familiar with it.
And it's all fairly new. And we haven't really used it. So it's kind of different, and I believe we were mandated to do that anyway, weren't we, Dean? Were we mandated to do that by the provincial government? Yeah,
Because otherwise you've got to train the people
yeah,
who sit on that board, and you have to pick people from the public or educated people. Then you're responsible, it is a municipality to train them. And to keep them updated on the training, which would be more than you'd ever use them for. So it's better off to be part of a regional system where you kind of pay as you go, you pay a basic retainer, and then you pay as you go if you need it. Because right now, nobody's appealing any subdivisions, so.
okay, Regional Assessment Review Board.
Okay, so this is, you guys went to the Capital Region Assessment Services Commission. And then if there's an assessment appeal, then it gets sent to Red Deer, then they use people from the capital regions to do the appeal. We do have to, as part of our process with municipal affairs, we have to get the list of the designated people on that board and send it in to municipal affairs. And by motion of council, that we will do that at our next meeting. But as far as the capital region, you guys don't plan on, you know, being part of your own assessment authority with anybody else, so they're kind of the go-to for you guys. You guys have a bylaw passed and a contract with them right now.
Yeah, and that's me as well.
And you have contract with everybody. I think your assessor, you have a contract with them until 2022 or 2024, sorry. So, and same with Roshan has a contract in 2024.
And just for information, the county of Stettler went to part-time community planning and they're getting rid of their planning department. Like Jacinta's retiring.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay,
Subdivision and development officer.
so, yeah, so will we have to appoint her this as well? He is also gonna be a designated officer with these powers. So it'll be Leanne and her company is Great Core Consulting Investments Limited.
Emergency managing director, so that's
Couldn't sign,
Clint Syme out of the county.
yeah.
And then deputy directors are formed from the board, I suppose.
Have to check the names on this, I'm not sure if they're still the same. I don't know who these people are, but that was last year. Chase Chomiak and Adson Rule.
Yeah, double check on the.
So this is just a quick, so this is, we appoint somebody, like we don't put somebody from our village on this board. This is a county-wide thing.
We're all members of the board, Robert.
Okay, yeah,
Just appointing or the group. So that includes County of Stettler, Town of Stettler, and Big Valley, Denalda.
okay,
That's it.
So they have to appoint a director, someone who's in charge of it all, to meet the municipal affairs requirements for emergency management, since they've had these big emergency managements. Cleve Lake, the flood, and then the fire in Fort McMurray, all municipalities are required to appoint a director who's trained in emergency management. And our representative on the emergency management training is actually Leanne. So she actually goes to the emergency management training. So, and that establishes the emergency command center and the emergency structure. And so, and then the other participants would be the town of Stettler, and usually it's the fire chief and the deputy fire chief.
okay, good.
So I think those are all of the appointments that are required by the MGA. So if we can get a motion to appoint all of these as presented, as described, oh Lord.
I'll move that.
Right,
All of
the only one we'll have to add is the members of the subdivision development, is the regional assessment board will have to get a list of members from them, because municipal affairs wants us to submit that, so at the next council meeting, we can get that approved. I don't have it yet, they didn't send it to me. So I just found that out as part of my annual reporting with municipal affairs. We have to present whoever's on the board. And municipal affairs will trust, and like, I don't know why, it's just red tape. Because we don't have anything to do with the board until we actually, our council doesn't appoint anybody.
and it can change at any time.
But the bylaw that we passed says that you guys do appoint them by motion. So you have to agree to appoint whoever's on the board. You're not appointing them, but you have to make a motion in council accepting them,
Okay.
the members. So that'll be coming forward. So we've got a motion to do those.
So all in favor?
Yep.
I vote in favor of that.
Okay. Okay, so then the next order of is your council organizational appointments of council. So Lauren asked me previously they hadn't put a seconder or a backup. There was a primary member of the board, but there was no alternate. So what I did is did the same chart you guys have, and it's in there, but you can select the alternate for each board, and so if someone's not available, it automatically, and under the new Municipal Government Act changes, the CAO or the mayor is not automatically ex officio.
So that's good.
Yeah, so that happened in May
Yeah.
this year. So, and I noted that at the bottom here, council has to choose a primary and alternate for each board and committee. So you guys can decide based on this list that, this is the list where you guys are representing us on those
Boards.
committees.
So then, let's say. Like, yeah, if you can't go to a meeting, then you're gonna have an alternate that you just phone up and tell them to go.
Do they have to know council? Can it be anybody?
Well,
No.
it could be a voting member. Council.
It used to be, they didn't use it like that.
Well, it depends on the board you're on.
Yeah.
Because they would have to be a particular member at large, like the housing.
Yeah.
Already has a member thought,
Yeah.
and so the landfill authority,
Mhm.
members at large.
So the old.
But these other committees
should be.
don't. And I'd like to say to you, if you can't go to the meeting and your alternate is not available to go, then the third council member can go. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like,
So it has to be members of council, not unelected officials for these, except for like the hall board and stuff. And you guys decide that that's not an official municipal functioning board. Or a regional planning board, like you've got the Buffalo Lake Intermunicipal Board, you've also got the Buffalo Lake Management Team, which isn't technically official anymore, but we're still participating in it. But it doesn't have any real municipal authority other than just making recommendations to the council.
more information.
Yeah.
Really.
So as this chart shows, if you have any specific interests, but, there's 3 councilors listed and there's, obviously Bob is the new councilor. So, but if Bob isn't interested in these other committees, then you guys can exchange committees and he can attend. Some of them you can attend via Zoom, so, they're easier to attend. But the other ones aren't because they're physical meetings. So like the Buffalo Lake Management Team meeting, it's a physical meeting, right?
Yeah. So the Zoom ones,
The ones that are X are the current ones. And then the O's will be the alternate.
Well, I'm happy to take whatever responsibilities you guys want me to take. That's fine. And I'm retired, so I can drive up to most any meeting and stuff. So it's not a big deal for me. So I'm, you guys know which ones you're on already and which ones would you like me to be on?
So right now, if you just take over the incumbent's position, you'd be on the Municipal Planning Commission, which you're automatically on because you're a member of council. You'd be on the Buffalo Lake Intermunicipal Development Planning. You'd also be on the Buffalo Lake Intermunicipal Development South Shore Planning Committee. And then you'd be on the Regional Waste Management Authority. And you'd be on the other 2, you're all on these 2, White Sands Emergency Management Committee, and you're all on the Statler Regional Emergency Management Committee. So So that's what's scheduled right now.
Yeah, and I think probably, like, just some insight to them, Robert, that, municipal planning commission is all council.
Yeah.
And we just get notified, generally have that at a council meeting, just 2 meetings on the same day, right back to back. And the other, the IDP, the Buffalo Lake IDP, they only meet probably once a year. And generally, it's in the county building in town.
But there's a lot of history and there's a lot of reading to do to catch up on those 2 committees. If
Yeah,
you're prepared to do those, then there's a lot of documentation involved.
the Buffalo Lake IDP, the one that's, effective now, is much less than the Buffalo Lake South Shore IDP, which is gonna be dissolved. It's just, we haven't gone through the formal functions, because when the county of Stettler made their area structure plan, they just left Goshen Sands and White Sands on a South Shore IDP. And to keep that relevant for 2 communities, and it has to be reviewed and all the rest of it, it's extremely expensive and ineffective because the county backed out. So that one's gonna have to, I've brought it up a few times, but doesn't, we haven't gone anywhere as far as we have to dissolve that committee. So if you have some time to read the Buffalo Lake IDP document, which I think you've probably gone through some of it already.
I have.
That'll be the main one, not the South Shore. The South Shore, that's gonna be history as far as I'm concerned. So it's no use even,
But we will need, if Bob wants to be on those 2 committees, we will need an alternate. So which
Yeah.
one of you guys would like to be the O, if he's the X?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
If you're the X, meaning you're the official representing the community, we need an alternate in case you're not available. So we need an O. So we need
Yeah, no,
to be the alternate just in case you can't go, you'll contact them and they can attend in your.
yeah. I should be able to make, I should be able to figure things out, as long as they give me some warning on it, it should be fine. I mean, it's only if I'm around, it's only when I would be going on vacation that I would, would be an issue or whatever, but I'm happy to take on whatever you guys want to give me there.
okay, so Robert, and then you have to take into account if there's a storm come up, then
Yeah,
you just get your alternate to go. And,
yeah,
Or Zoom in if it's available.
yes,
Well, they may on that one,
Now, most
Yeah.
communities have Zoom capabilities.
but they
So
haven't.
we still should appoint an alternate.
Yeah, so do you want me to be an alternate? Robert, like I've been on them committees before,
sure, that's fine.
so the alternate, I'll be on, that's okay with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Buffalo Lake IDP and,
So
South
the
Shore.
management team. So we need an alternate for that.
Buffalo Lake Management Team, that meeting is probably 4 or 5 times a year, and it's generally all Monday, and it starts at 1 o'clock, and it's kind of like a coffee session. But the representatives on that are from members at large from all around Buffalo Lake, as well as all the 5 municipalities are there. But the important thing too is that environment and parks also show up at these meetings.
Yeah.
So if there's something cooking with the, let's say, the crushing cart invasive into the lake, or else the pumping system down at the river to stabilize the lake. They also cover Sylvan Lake, Gull Lake, so a lot of the stuff that happens over there is relevant. So on there, we have County of Lacombe, County of Camrose, County of Stettler, Goshen Sands and White Sands. So for a meeting, I mean, it's kind of long and drawn out, but it is really quite formative.
So because you're quite interested in the planning and in the South Shore related and the recreation lease and the LOC and the right of way, you might want to attend those meetings. Because you have an interest in those as the alternate, just at least one or two of them. If you don't want to attend regularly, because it would be very good history on the whole thing.
And actually, well, even Ed, if you wanted to go, you could come to the meeting even if the member was there.
Right.
And just remind yourself with
What's going on?
going on.
Sure.
And if you can't make it, tough bananas. Like I can, you know, we should probably just do one member at a time, not full council there. Be better if one member at a time so that you can get, and seeing what's going on. So would you be an alternate then? Robert?
Sure, yes.
So the next one is the County of Stettler Housing Authority. Right now, Ed is the primary, so we need an alternate from one of the other two to just in case.
So them meetings are Thursday evenings still?
Yeah. Here's the evenings.
And I think they start, what, 6?
Once a month, usually, or late, and they start at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's a once a month commitment there. So Ed, you still want to be on it?
Yeah, I'm starting to get familiar with it now, so fine.
Okay. So they look after 3 lodges in town, Robert, and they also have a units down in Big Valley. And
Right.
they also look after, like there's 3 lodges, but they also look after low income housing. And they, within that, they have some duplexes behind or by the Heartland. Where that restaurant. It's just east of the Arsenic Police Station.
Wait,
The
Right,
other,
okay.
the other side, them duplexes behind there are theirs, and then also up on the north side, there's a set of apartments buildings that is there as well. So it's quite large. And then they also do rent subsidy for some low income folks that are just in ordinary apartments.
Yeah.
It's a huge organization.
Yeah.
Too big.
The problem with those, that are right now, our meetings have been set up in Cardinal Place and not in the county office. So they don't really have Zoom capabilities there.
Okay. Yeah, I that would be one that I would probably try to not be on if possible.
Is Lauren will be the alternate?
Yeah. I hate them.
Yeah,
If you're an alternate on those, but.
I'm just dealing with that.
So the next one is the Stettler Regional Fire Advisory Committee. Right now, Lauren is the primary. You wanna be?
Yeah, I don't mind staying on there, but also you gotta know that they're always on Fridays. Last one was on a Thursday because there was some conflict, but it's the same, just about most of the time it's the same date as the EMS or the ambulance is in the morning. And then the fire is at noon hour in Stettler. And then
How often are those?
they're probably, I would say, once every couple months.
Okay,
Generally, it's call of the chair, and sometimes they get moved around, but they're always Fridays.
okay, I can be an alternate on those if you want.
Well, it would probably be better for you, Robert, because then you could come up for the weekend or whatever,
Yeah, that'd be good.
and charge the village for your mileage.
So do you still want to stay on that then, or?
I don't mind unless you want to.
I wouldn't mind taking a run at that, but I'd certainly trade you with the ambulance. That, to me, that ambulance is very important and you might,
Well, I was on it for a lot of years, but it's also, yeah,
So do you
it's
want?
complicated.
I know it is, that's what that might, no, I don't,
Okay,
not in particular.
so you don't wanna be the act, so.
But I would like to try, I would go on the region fire as the acts,
As the
if Lauren. would-
Yeah.
Do you wanna switch those?
So I'll be,
Okay, but me.
no,
Okay.
Robert's gonna be the alternate on, fire.
Mhm.
So who'd be the alternate on the ambulance authority?
I can be the alternate on the ambulance.
Sure.
Okay, so you guys are just gonna switch the fire advisory and the ambulance authority?
So the fire would be Ed, or,
Yeah,
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 Ed,
and Bob is the
alternate.
alternate. And then if you go on to the ambulance authority,
When are their meetings still? They're on Fridays, I think.
no,
Friday, Monday,
they're on Thursdays.
Thursday. Okay,
Yeah, it's
So
changed.
we're good with that. So right now, Bob would be the primary on the Regional Waste Management Authority. Unless he doesn't wanna do that, so, and then,
How often, when are those meetings?
okay. I'm not sure, I don't know what the date was.
I haven't been, I used to be on that.
Bill was on.
Yeah.
I don't think they were very often.
On Wednesdays, or no, Thursdays, after, we were usually after when we met with the county.
Were they weren't once a month, were they?
They weren't very often, they weren't monthly, they were,
Quarterly, I think.
Probably every second. And their afternoon meetings, at least they were.
Okay, that's fine.
Would you be interested?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, we don't wanna get you all. Me just reading this. We don't wanna get you too. Bogged out.
Yeah, that's fine.
okay, so.
Okay, and then
So
we
who
need
would be the
I'll be an
alternate?
alternate.
Ed,
Sure, I'll do that. I'll be the alternate.
actually, that you'd be interested,
Yeah.
because it's a lot to do with pushing dirt.
Okay, so the next one would be the Shirley McCullen. Right now, Lauren is the primary. And he's been on there for quite a while, so. if you'd
So
like-
just leave that one alone.
Who'd like to be the alternate?
More than likely, time on should be Ed.
Okay.
Because
I'll accept that.
they're evening meetings.
If you're okay with that, Bob?
Sure, that's fine.
And then the next two are, you guys are all three on these meetings as the White Sands Emergency Management Committee. I don't know how often you guys meet for that. Once a year, maybe? Or have you met as a White Sands Emergency Management?
Probably once a
Once a
year.
year, okay. And then there's a step, the regional management agency, you have to meet at least once a year. According to the bylaw and act that you guys put in place, but it might be twice a year and you're all on that as well. So as far as the adding others, you talked about the White Sands Hall Society and the Parkland Library Regional appointing. So you guys aren't doing that as part of council.
So they don't have to be on, well, the library is because we get requisition.
You give requisitions to, but there's nothing that says a council member has to do it.
No. So we had a member from Denalda Council
15.
that's going to the meetings.
Can we appoint somebody from our own?
He's representing us, The PB
Yeah.
compensation representative.
Well, she goes there on behalf of Albert, so she's on double.
Oh, okay. So, well, do you guys wanna add her as the representative on the part-time
I
library?
don't know, I just brought that up because the fact that, I guess I don't know who actually wrote these sheets, but we are represented on here. I guess it could just be word of mouth. Like, we don't,
And you want to put her on the White Sands Hall Society too?
know.
Okay, they're just a library.
Yeah, and the other one I was talking about was the rec board. If we join the rec board, the county rec board,
Right.
then that should be on here.
We can add that as 8:15. 8:15 and would be the county of Stellar rec board.
Yeah, when that comes into effect, remember. So it'd be a member at large from.
But it would be the whole society spending money.
Right. But should we have that on our,
She wouldn't be a member of the municipality.
okay,
You would have
so
to.
that doesn't have to be on there, okay. But the library should. Think,
You don't pay her because they can requisition you for stuff, but they're gonna be being paid through the board. And
Yeah.
they requisition you for the fees to be in that board, if you guys wanted. Because right now, the way the building for this building works is all the bills go through White Sands. And then we don't give the invoices to the Hall Society, so that they aren't sending them to the rec board for future capital or operations
Right.
fees. So it's not that we are gonna pass the cost on, because we're still gonna pay for it, but in order to get their financial statement and their, information in the financial statement, then they have to get some invoicing so that they can send it on to the county.
yeah, and then be in the deficit maybe too.
Yeah, so then they can apply for capital and whatever else the county has access to, they can also apply for operations, funds. Maybe programming funds too, I don't know what else. County can offer.
So Robert, the county of Stettler rec board was set up in the '70s. And it was to do with it's not really to do with the county, but that's what it's called. But they looked after, let's say the arena, the tennis courts in town, the swimming pool and everything else, but didn't pay into it. As far as requisitions or anything. So the members of the board, there's only one council member from the county that is on the board, and that's Justin Stevens. And they have about 14 or so members that are all off societies, like the Linda Hall Society, the Denalda Ag Society. They're all members that are not elected officials. And then they apply, there's some money that comes every year, and I don't know if it's provincial and federal. But then, let's say, is it most,
Yeah, well, they can apply for recreation, agriculture, and capital to. And Community Canada Building Fund,
oh, right, okay. So there's,
as well as water.
yeah, so every year, actually, it's gonna be in December 5th, they have applications of all the societies, and nonprofits within the county of Stettler boundary that put in applications for funding for, capital and operational. So it might be fix a roof on Linda Hall, for example, or put a furnace in, Ag Society up at, Denalda. Actually, I think they're looking at roof. But then it's decided at the meeting in December where the funds are gonna go from the board themselves. But it's basically an independent board. I don't know if that explained it properly.
Yeah, so do we want one of us, or do we want to, so the Hall Society, the White Sands Hall Society is part of this board?
Well, moving towards that. So, it's not.
So
up-
should the head of the Hall Society be on this board?
Well, depends, if, she wants to, certainly she would be very, good. And the other part of that is that, the Hall Society could appoint one of their members or directors as a member at large for the Hall Society of White Sands.
Yeah,
So the other thing we found out was that it's not up to the county executive council to decide whether we join or not, it's up to the board. And I know that, Justin Stevens is all for it.
So the county of Stettler, unlike all counties and MPs in the province, has an obligation to support the Hall Society, and they get a certain amount of funding, both operations and capital, to dole out to these recreation boards and societies, because the counties officially don't have their own. Normally, they don't have their own arenas, hockey rinks, or any other sports facilities or ag societies. And most of the provincial funding that built all those buildings was applied through the ag societies with the counties involved or the towns. So the ag society money essentially, not in our case, but in most communities, built all the halls in all the communities. And then there's been a long-standing obligation for the counties to use the power and pipeline funds, the provincial grant funds, federal grant funds, and the lottery funding program to provide recreation for their residents, because generally counties don't have their own recreation facilities at all. They have to rely on the communities to provide it. And that.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So we can potentially get a fair bit of money out of these guys?
It's not big,
But there's some there.
but some there, like, I think maybe they're back into like maintenance. And if a society is having trouble with, utilities and that kind of stuff. Like, I can't really be 100% sure, because I don't really know anybody that's been on the board other than Beth Bolton at, Echo Glen. She's for the Denali Ag Society, but I don't really know personally anybody on the board that I could contact, except I have been contacting the representative of county to put it together, or that is on.
Yeah, so the Hall Society may have to expand their role to include all the recreation facilities within the Summit Village of White Sands, and that includes the playgrounds, the tennis courts, and all that, because the county actually does do a review and a safety check of all those facilities and presents a report to Roshan Sands and other communities. So that's part of the process as far as keeping things to code and safe. But in order to apply for capital dollars to, do tennis court resurfacing or anything like that, they could apply on behalf of the community instead of the municipality having to do it, come up with the $40,000 or whatever it is. So they would apply
Right.
through the board. So.
And to be honest, I have no idea what their average budget is for funding either. I don't.
No,
Hard to say.
but it's stackable money, so that if the municipality applies for a small piece, the rec board applies for a small piece, county applies, and then they apply for federal and provincial programs, then they can get enough money to do a project without hitting one of the municipalities too hard, right?
So that's all fairly new for us.
Mhm. So are we thinking that we're just gonna? Lauren, was it your thought to put a council member on this board, or do you think
No,
the Hall Society person?
yeah. Yeah, I don't think, well, part of the bylaw anyway was always low profile for municipal elected officials on that board. It was started independent by, stakeholders. And
Yeah, Okay,
And I think they'll decide on December 5th whether we're gonna join or not, but they're quite excited about it. Because they've had a lot of people drop out because of the fact that some of the villages were dissolved, like Boston and Gadsby were dissolved, so they lost 2 members there. And Erskine's been a hamlet for so long.
Yeah.
So to get in into the Ag Society, I was told it was $17.50 per capita to get in there. So it would cost the village $2,200 to join, and that's a one-time shot at it. And I don't know where that came from or anything else, but I guess we'll see. That's all.
Okay.
So then there's the code of conduct. Do we have to make a motion on them?
No, the council code of conduct bylaw is already in place. Also, the only other thing that we have to discuss just before, we will register you, Bob. There is a elected officials education program. It's like an online training course, and so
okay,
it covers off governance and a whole bunch of other stuff, but it's a certification program you can do online. So
okay,
so we'll register you for that, and then we'll send you all the documentation like the council code of conduct. There's a bunch of documents that are presented by municipal affairs for incoming councilors, and it's a package that gets put together. So we'll send you all those electronically so you can have them, and then we'll register you in the upcoming elected officials online program.
okay, that's great. And you were gonna put together some kind of a binder for me, Dean,
Yes, I started the binder already, but it's gonna be an electronic copy sent to you, and then when you get back, it'll be a binder.
yeah, that's wonderful. Good.
We need a motion for selling to them.
Yeah, so we need, Lauren, do you want to give the motion for the committee appointments and the schedule?
Yes.
And then,
And throughout once you get started, like Ed and Bob, if we're always in a position to change who's members on these boards. If it's just not your cup of tea, or else if you can't get to the meetings from Calgary, that's understandable. And
Yeah, no, I'll try and, like I say, it's generally not going to be a problem. I mean, unless there's, if I'm out of town or if there's 5 feet of snow on the ground or something like that. But other than that, it's not usually a problem.
yeah, and I also, with the actual council meetings, I wouldn't be because everybody's so used to the Zoom because of COVID. It's not, if it's 40 below weather and you don't feel like coming to the lake, this works perfect too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly more cost effective for the village for me to do Zoom rather than charging a bunch of mileage too.
yeah, well, I think Jay on the other side, he's away working up north, so he goes to most of his meetings by Zoom now, so. In all the boards that he's on, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this works great. And like I say, it's just going to just keep sending me whatever I need to read so I can get up to speed as quickly as possible.
Okay. So we'll try to keep the email package bundles smaller so that you can receive them, because we've had issues with sending too many emails to certain councilors and they don't clean out their past emails and they get hung up they don't get through because the mailbox gets full fast. So
Okay.
the package is reasonable size.
And the other thing
Sure.
about that too, what we could do is Like, I know sometimes we get minutes from a meeting or else a big, huge document from, let's say, the library when they put their budget together. We could only, what we could do is just put the page, what the requisition is being cost.
And then send the information for.
Then the other stuff would just be a click on to go to their whole package.
Yeah,
That would be keep them agendas, like 100-page agenda is,
yeah, I know. Yeah,
and if there's a set of minutes from, like the ambulance authority or whatever, I personally would just put, where you can access them on the internet, if you're interested.
yeah, I think that's what we'll do is we'll post those, as hot links on the
Yeah.
website instead of having them in the council agenda packet.
Yeah, unless it's something important, like if there's a big change. Like Ed said the other day when he was at the meeting that when the government, backpedaled on not giving the ambulance authority enough dose, so what did you guys get, 600,000?
601,000.
Yeah, well, 601,000, so at least the ambulance service is gonna be as is. Where they were gonna cut it down to a taxi service,
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, well, that was scary what they were gonna do with the ambulances.
Yeah, so that's been rectified, but it's only for what, 18 months?
18 months, and back to square one again.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it.
Okay.
And my email now, the Bob at White Sands is working thanks to Aaron, so we're all good there.
You're welcome.
So we generally do a sheet up to change all the contacts,
Yes,
story.
so we'll take these sheets back and send, all the contacts to the committees
Yeah,
and with all your contacts, and
yeah,
I think we've got everybody's contacts for and we'll pass on the contact information for those committees to Bob
yeah,
and have them send him the new information, like on the committees that he's on.
yeah. And as far as my contacts, the one phone number is 0210, that's the landline. And then the other one is the cell, because I've had people lately, more than past years, try and text that landline,
Oh,
and they never get anything.
Yeah.
But
are we adjourning the meeting?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's up to him.
yeah, we're done.
Yeah, everyone?
We're German.
Okay.
Yeah,
You guys carried it?
You're okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. No, it was very informative. So no, looking forward to it. It should be good.
So, what we do it?
Stop recording first.
Well, I'm trying to figure that out.
Okay, go have a beer, Bob.
Yeah, well, I've had a couple of